welcome to the Sailing My Magic channel. My name is Duke and I am solo sailing Magic, my 2015 Lagoon Catamaran, around the world. I didn't prepare a video last week because I was preparing to do my next passage onto Fiji. So if you look at this graphic here, you can see that Fiji in a straight line is 1,057 miles from where I'm at the north end of New Zealand. But you never sail in a straight line, so it'll probably be more like 1,200 miles to get there. From Fiji, I'm going to go over to Vanuatu. Now that's about 500 miles due west. West is the general direction I'm wanting to go to do my circumnavigation. And then it's 1,633 miles from Vanuatu to the Torres Straits. And the Torres Straits is not a destination. That's just the entrance to the next part of the passage. I want to go all along the northern edge of Australia. That big spike you see at the landmass that's going to be below my route, that's part of Australia. That gets up near Darwin, and there's a big bay there. And on the north side there, on the top of the image, is Papua New Guinea. And I'll be going past there and on towards Christmas Island. From New Zealand in the middle of the screen, I'll be going up to Fiji, then to the left over to Vanuatu, and then towards Torres Straits. And there you see the big spike, and you see the wind directions that are going to be guiding me. Since many people are going the same general time, there's often little parties going on. This was one put on by John Martin, the weather forecaster. He gives people an idea of when to go. There's going to be a big rally up for 2024, up to Fiji and up to Tonga. I'm not a part of that rally, but I'm going the same general direction and got to participate in the party. At Christmas time, my middle son, Austin, sent me a drone with a built-in camera, and it's got several stabilizing effects that I'm hoping to use on this. I took some photos of it while I was learning to fly the thing. It's much easier than any drone I've tried to fly before. If you let up on the controls, it just stays and hovers in one spot. And I was able to use this to practice and then take some pictures of the marina. There's one shot of the boatyard and then going over towards where the boats are in the slips. Then there's the overall marina. This is the Bay of Islands Marina. It's probably the largest departure point from New Zealand, as it's relatively to the north end of the North Island. And there's my boat tied up in the slip. I don't often get to see it from this angle. One of the things I learned at John Martin's party was that Fiji and the Torres Straits both require that you have AIS transmission. That's a automatic identification system. My boat did not have the transmission, it only received it, which has been good for me for the last 3 years and 20,000 miles, but I had to upgrade it. So this is the new radio being put in. It does both AIS and VHF and has a splitter so that it separates the two signals. Unfortunately, while digging into this, I also found that there were several wires that had disintegrated and needed to cut off the ends and replace the end plugs or replace the entire wire. This required that I pull everything apart and more than one person to slide the wires through. It's much easier if you have one person pushing and one person pulling, even when you have a snake to slide the wire through, but it made a mess. Now, I mentioned a splitter on the radio. That's because it gets two signals. The radio handles both, but it required me to add a second antenna. So I put in another VHF antenna, which acts as the AIS antenna, and didn't want it right next to the VHF antenna because they can interfere with each other, but put it up off of the solar panel arch and had to make a little plate there to mount it. Mounted it in with a couple of bolts as well as some 5200. The 5200 is a adhesive, I believe it's 3M, but it's pretty much, you can't take it off after you put it on, and it's not susceptible to UV degradation like 4200 is. Now there's the new radio installed, but what I needed to do still was install my new MMSI number. That's a number that's used internationally to keep track of VHF radios and AIS signals. Again, I didn't have this before because I didn't have a radio that would transmit it, but I sent for it from the FCC and have to install it and program the radio. Since this was a radio upgrade, I also upgraded the wireless handheld unit. Now usually I take that up in the helm with me to be able to use the radio up there, and that way there's no wires dangling around to cause a problem or to break down in the sunlight. But the new handheld is on the right. It's smaller and does a few more things, so that will be a good upgrade for me. The local businesses, the chandleries and things like that, want you to remember them well and mention them well for the next set of sailors that come through. Remember, we've been here about 5 months waiting for the cyclone season to end, and in this case, this was Burnsco put on a seminar regarding fishing techniques. I also needed to top off my propane tanks. I had one that was full, but the other one was nearly empty. So I went to a propane place. So myself and a couple of friends went over to a giant propane place that was over in Kerry. Now Kerry is about an hour drive from here. I don't have a car, but they did, so I went along with them. And this is a giant propane place. They had every type of cylinder and everything that you could possibly want, and they would not refill either of our tanks, partly because ours had foreign registration numbers and things on them, foreign stamps, not the local ones saying they were approved for such and such a pressure and that sort of thing. And my friend had a fiberglass tank which they wouldn't refill at all. Fortunately, mine was within date and everything, and it was a metal tank, and I was able to go get it filled at another location that wasn't quite so strict about it. But they should have, because it was within date and it was pressure tested and all that kind of stuff. Then back over at Russell, I went to a big party. It was the Italian festival. Then back over at Russell, I went to the Italian festival at one of the local restaurants, and they had all sorts of cheeses and hams and all sorts of Italian things, some drink specials. Had a real good time there. Ran into some other people there that I know, which is always nice. The hazard of sailing alone is that you often go to places alone, but being sailors and running into people, you often run into people that you know over and over again at different locations. I went over to a sail loft in Kerry. They're getting some repairs done. You never run out of repairs to do on a boat, but I wanted to show you what a sail loft was like. They have huge floors so they can spread sails out, and they put the sewing machine operators in pits so that the sail is drug flat across the floor, and that way they don't sew wrinkles into it or anything like that. It's a very good system. I've seen the same system at other sails lofts that I've been into. It works. Then I went over to a barbecue at Sea Power, which is a mechanical and electrical repair shop, a very big one at the Bay of Islands Marina. This was maybe 40 or 50 people there. Met a ton of people that I knew already and hadn't seen in a while. Colin and Jamie were there from Parlay Revival, and several other boats that I was very pleased to meet. And they had pulled pork, barbecue pork, chicken, sausages, as well as sides and free beer and wine. This was a really good party. I'm really grateful that Sea Power put this on and would recommend them for your boating repairs when you're in the area. One of the other things I needed to do was clean the bottom of my boat. This area is very nutrient rich and grows barnacles very quickly. I've been having the boat cleaned once a month scrape the barnacles off and get most of the green growth off it. Now you don't have to worry about a little green slime on there. That just slides right through the water, but barnacles will slow you down. It may slow you down if you let them get big, a knot or two. The tiny ones maybe slow you down 1 knot. But as you can see from all the little speckles on here, this is where a barnacle was scraped off, and the glue for the barnacle is so strong it just pulls the ablative paint right off too. So it leaves fiberglass exposed. But if it's just little tiny spots like this, you're okay for a little while longer. Usually you have to redo the ablative paint every 2, maybe 3 years if you're in clean water, but usually about every 2 years. It's been about 1.5 years for me so far. And some little visitors came in to say hello while down there underneath the boat. I'm really amazed that some places on the hull they get a lot of barnacles, other places not very many, and it doesn't have to do with the water line. It's usually down a little lower, and it's really odd. I mean, one side of a rudder might have a lot of barnacles on it, the other side might have none. You might have some on your propeller or on the sail drive arm, but it's completely at random, it seems. One of the projects that I did, not because I had to, but because I really wanted to. Because my boat was a charter boat before, all the top edges of the cabinets were very worn and stained, very dark. I've tried sanding them, I've tried bleaching them, could never get it out. So I had made up these handles to put on top of them, and finally got around to drilling the holes, gluing them in, screwing them on, so they'd be nice and sturdy and not cause any problem. While I was down here in New Zealand, we also had the Aurora Borealis, the Northern Lights, and in this case the Southern Lights. I didn't realize that it came in different bands of color. We were in the red band, so this is about 10 o'clock at night, and this was provided by my friend Jen King. This area is at the as far south, it's equivalent to like San Francisco or Ireland. It tends to be not heavy rain, but tends to be clouded, tends to be drizzly, and because of that, my solar cells, even though I added an extra solar cell, forgot to mention that part, the charge was not building up real well because it was constantly overcast. So I went to start up my little portable generator and had 2 problems with it. One, the carburetor was dirty again. Because I don't use it very often, if there's any water in the carburetor, it gets gummed up and causes a problem. But also the pull cord broke, so that necessitated some more repairs. Had to haul the generator out to Sea Power to get them to replace the cord because I didn't have a cord, and then bring it back and run it for a couple hours attached to the shore power line. And in this case, I got about 400 amps in on about 3/4 of a tank of gas, excuse me, on a full tank of gas, which is about 3/4 of a gallon. So they're good little generators, they're inexpensive, and they provide the right electricity because most of the world is 240 volts, and my boat is a 120 volt, and it's 60 hertz, so you don't want to run incompatible power into them. This is a much better solution. It's looking like Thursday is a good weather window to go to Fiji, and all my major projects are completed, but I have not received my MMSI number, and I need that to go to Fiji. Please click on like and subscribe if you haven't already. It's totally free, and it very much helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Time for a sundowner. Enjoy!